Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
McSorley now sets up to his left. 1st and 10, Ohio State 48, far hash. Takes the snap, wants to throw again. Steps up, long and deep. Far sideline, hand-fighting Johnson reaches up and makes an incredible catch inside the 20-yard line. A spectacular play by Jawan Johnson. On the near hash, 34-yard attempt. Kyle Vasey will snap it. Blake Gilligan will put it down. Trying to give the Nittany Lions the first quarter lead. Waits, good snap, put down. The kick by Jake is up, and the kick by Pittiger is good, and the Nittany Lions take the lead, 3-0. Haskins now. Motion by Hill away from us. Penn State shows blitz, they bring it. Back goes Haskins, drills it over the middle, off the hands of Barry, picked off. Garrett Taylor, 35, 40. Taylor, far sideline, 50. To the 40, 35, and hit from behind at the 30-yard line. The Nittany Lions get the game's first takeaway. Waits, puts it down. Kick by Pittiger's up, and the kick by Jake Pittiger is good, and the Nittany Lions take advantage of the Garrett Taylor interception and lead 6-0 with 11:18 to go in the opening half. Takes the snap back, waits, delivers. Hamler's got it 15-20. KJ 25-30. Far sideline 40, and there he goes. KJ Hamler 40, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Penn State, 93 yards. Sanders to the right of McSorley, trying to take the lead on 1st and goal at the 2, attacking the south end zone to our right. McSorley takes it. McSorley back. He throws in the end zone. Touchdown! Penn State, Pat Fryermuth, and in Trace we trust. The Nittany Lions take the lead. 4th and inches, Jan Johnson back in the game. Turns, gives it, hit, down he goes! Down he goes! Midfield, Penn State turns them away. The Nittany Lions get the ball back.
But it was Sharif Miller. Sharif Miller took that inside gap, that quickness, got up the field, and made the play on a 4th down and short situation.
McSorley will take it. Sanders up the middle. Sanders pulls his way to the goal line. Miles Sanders reaches out, and Miles Sanders got it. Touchdown, Penn State. 27-26 Ohio State. 1st and 10, Nittany Lions are on 25. McSorley back. Pressure, steps up, delivers over the middle. Fryermuth at the 50, and down to the Ohio State 48-yard line. There's the knee, and that's all Ohio State will need. Ohio State comes back from a 26-14 deficit to win the game 27-26 over the Nittany Lions. They go to 5-0, and the Nittany Lions will fall to 4-1 on the season.
You know, we didn't finish the game the way we should have finished the game. There's no doubt about it. We played a great first half, but weren't able to finish late in the game. Obviously, you second-guess some things. After a loss like that, should have kicked the field goal in the first half. But I felt like trusting our offense, and rather than putting a true freshman kicker out in that situation, obviously after the second hand, it's obviously easy to second guess that decision. You play that type of opponent, I didn't feel like you're going to beat that type of opponent kicking field goals. Thought we're going to have to score touchdowns and be aggressive. We had opportunities. We didn't make plays. We didn't tackle well in open space. We dropped some balls. At the end of the game, we had a situation there going forward on 4th down. Obviously after we don't have the success that we should have had. Obviously we should have called something different there. So I'm pretty upset right now because I'm hurting for those guys in that locker room. I know how hard they've invested. I know how hard they've worked. The reality is we've gone from an average football team to a good football team to a great football team, and we've worked really hard to do those things, but we're not an elite football team yet. And as hard as we have worked to go from average to good, from good to great, the work that it's going to take to get to an elite program is going to be just as hard as the ground and the distance that we've already traveled. It's going to be just as hard to get there. scratch and claw and fight. And right now, we're comfortable being great. And I'm going to make sure that everybody in our program, including myself, is very uncomfortable, because you only grow in life when you're uncomfortable. So we are going to break through and become an elite program by doing all the little things. Lose by 1 point this year, lose by 1 point last year. You make that up by all the little things. By going to class consistently so the coaches don't have to babysit you, and we can spend our time developing you as men and as people and as players, and not be babysitting little things. And don't get me wrong, our guys do a great job going to class, but there's 2 or 3 guys. It's all the little things that are going to matter. And we are going to find a way to get from being a great program, which we are, just so everybody's crystal clear, we're a great program. We lost to an elite program, and we're that close. We have gotten comfortable being great. We will no longer be comfortable being great. We're going to learn from this, we're going to grow from this, and we're going to find a way to take that next step as a program, because we've been knocking at the door long enough. And it's my job as the head coach. I'm ultimately responsible for all of it. And I will find a way, we will find a way, and with all the support of everybody in this community and everybody on this campus and the lettermen and everybody else, we are going to get this done. I give you my word. We are going to find a way to take the next step. We're done being great.
Head coach James Franklin after the game, in a game that so often when these games are built up, and then you watch it and it's anticlimactic, this one lived up to the billing of a great, exciting football game. And it didn't, and again, it didn't go Penn State's way. Yes, they lost the lead late in the game. And that's something that, Penn State has had big wins during this streak that James Franklin's had them on now, and this the 3rd season in a row where Penn State has elevated to a great team. They've had wins over Ohio State, Michigan State, Washington, Wisconsin. They've been able to win those games, right? But they've also the tough losses along the way, too. Tough loss to USC, 2 tough losses to Ohio State, tough loss at Michigan State. Right? So they've had that. Okay? And he doesn't want any more. He wants to be, look, Penn State expects to win these games. Don't get me wrong. Penn State, Trace McSorley, you don't think he doesn't expect to win? My goodness, how many of you are thinking the way we're thinking in the booth? Right? College football's best quarterback, maybe best player, has got the ball in his hands with 2 minutes to go. I think everybody thought he'd drive them downfield to win it, because he's already shown he does that. He did it in the Minnesota game. He did it in the Appalachian State game. He did it in the Iowa game. I mean, he's done this over and over again. I think he alluded to the play call, and it comes back to, look, you've got, without question, one of the truly elite players, and I think that if you were to poll most fans, win or lose, they would like to go either win it or go down with the football in the hands of a Trace McSorley one way or the other. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least it was in his. I think that's what the fans are saying. I think that's what the fans are saying. It's probably what the media is saying as well. And he say, hey, look, another chance we come up with a different play call. Okay. The interesting part about that play call is Ohio State ran a stunt thinking it was going to be a pass, and they stunted into the play. Because if you look at the hole, oh my goodness, right? If Young is chipped and doesn't get there, that play probably goes all the way. There's a gigantic hole. With Gonzalez, he's got Mennett's got it walled off, and Gonzalez is already headed upfield with nobody to block. Now, again, I'm just explaining what's on that play, and
And I've already talked about Trace McSorley having the ball. But if you look at the picture from the end zone, and Young just makes it. Young made a couple really good plays. And going into the game, I said, hey, look, Bosa's out. There are no Bosas on that defensive line. None. But Young is the guy I said had the most potential as time went, who's going to be a really good player. Okay? Well, you saw in that game, he not only made that fourth down play, he also had a sack in the game, and then there was another play where, my goodness, there was a fourth down play where Trace is going to throw the ball to Pat Freiermuth. And it's a short, quick, easy throw. And my goodness, Freiermuth catches it. He's going to go, and Pat will catch it. I mean, there's no getting around it. It's not a difficult pitch and catch. And Pat's going to probably go 15, 20 yards on this fourth down play. And Young got a piece of it. We talk about those games of inches. His wingspan, which is impressive, made that play. They're usually in big games such as these. There are 5 to 6 plays that swing the game one way or the other. We talk about those, 5, and you don't know where they're going to be. Except this game was different. I felt there were maybe 15 plays in this game that could swing the outcome one way or the other. Now, I don't know in terms of the count. It could have been Ohio State won 8 of them and Penn State won 7. But it's kind of one of those deals where you've got to win 8, maybe 9 out of those 15 to win the game. And Haskins struggled with the pressure. The short pass, the screen game bailed him out. He was 12 of 14 in passes behind the line of scrimmage. He was only 10 of 25 passing beyond the line of scrimmage. What Ohio State brilliantly did was they used Penn State's pass rush against it. Where after all the pressure that was put on Haskins, they finally had enough and said, look, let's use it against them and let's start incorporating more of the screen game in there to use the pass rush against them. And that's what they did.
That was one of the great things. That was one of the things that James Franklin had mentioned, Steve, last week, is making Haskins uncomfortable. And he definitely, the first handful of drives in the first half, he definitely looked and felt uncomfortable out there. But to Penn State's credit, the defense played wonderful for 3.5 quarters. They hung tough. I mean, you had haymaker versus haymaker. And Jack brought up a great point during the pregame. Every tackle's got to be crisp, concise, right there. And boy, those last two drives, it just got,
Yep. Yeah. I mean, two teams left it all out there. How tired was each side at that point? I'm sure Ohio State was tired too. I mean, both teams, there's so much, it's so physical, so much emotion in a game like that. The crowd was unbelievable. I mean, it was a record crowd of 110,889. So the crowd was unbelievable. I mean, all the way through. Down moments, they were great. Big moments. I mean, it's one thing when listening to the highlight package you played, the touchdown pass to Pat Freiermuth that put them in front. Do you hear how loud the crowd is in that highlight? I mean, my goodness, that's the way they were all night. James talks about that great to elite. It is difficult to get to because, look, there are certain teams that get that benefit of the doubt. Alabama always gets the benefit of the doubt. Right now, Clemson does. Ohio State does. Maybe Oklahoma, maybe Georgia. Get that benefit of the doubt. Well, Notre Dame's not quite there yet. It's interesting, years ago when Dabo Swinney first took over at Clemson, there was an expression that was used to describe the Clemson program. It was always they would get close and not quite get over the hump, get close, not quite get over the hump. And so they called it Clemsoning. Clemsoning. Well, then they finally get over the hump, and he said, time to retire that word. That's because they got to that point where they were national champions. They got to that point where they were elite. Well, Clemson is now, nobody uses the word Clemsoning anymore because they made that transition from great to elite. That's where Penn State is, right on the precipice of that. And part of that talk about great to elite was also a message to all the recruits that were at the game. Basically saying, you people are the ones that can then help us get over that hump and be elite. You're part of the key to doing that. So that part was also a message to his current team, but also a message to his future team and his future teams. So that was actually two-part right there. This nonsense about, and look, I understand the emotion in the moment. I've done this for a million years. So I understand the emotion of it. You're upset, you're mad. You know what? James Franklin's mad they lost. The players in that locker room are mad they lost. And you, the fans, are mad they lost. Okay? You know how good that is? Okay? James Franklin expected to win. I expected them to win. Sean knows darn well I expected them to win. Hey, I watched the tapes. The whole world's telling me they're blown away by Ohio State, blown away. I'm watching the tapes. I'm going, I think Penn State's better. Okay, I'm watching the tapes. I'm watching all the tapes. Not watching highlight packages. Like, I don't know. There's some things here I don't see. Okay? James Franklin expected to win. The players expected to win, and you, the fans, expected them to win. This is not like the 2014 season where Penn State's in scholarship reductions and Penn State goes double overtime with Ohio State, and everybody walks out of the stadium saying, golly gee, look what we did. Okay? This is 2018. You're now mad that they lost this game because you have expectations, because they have recruited and coached this team to then get you to feel like there's expectations. That's where Penn State is now. You get mad when they lose a game like this. You're mad because you have expectations now. That's great. Now it's a question of now turning into euphoria where you expected to win and you're euphoric they won. Now you're trying to get to that point where everybody feels that way. That part I get. And it's just little tiny things. Little things. Hey, it's one thing about this. There is no radical, dramatic surgery that is needed to make Penn State great to elite, but it's a series of little things. The extra day you do a lift, the extra time you go out and do some sprints, that extra time you watch a little bit more tape that maybe opens the door to the dark room on something, right? Okay, that's what where are the extras coming from? Hey, let's stay after practice 5 extra minutes. Let's work on this pass route. It's something right in there. Okay, that's how close they are. Because they got the fan support. They've got the home field advantage. You supply that. In 1982, obviously different era, different teams, different time. Got it. Okay? You know, but in 1982, in the 5th game of the season, Penn State went to Alabama. And this is the infamous Ralph Giacomello kicked the ball off the back of Mike Suter. Mike, by the way, had an interception in the end zone that game. Mark Robinson got hurt. Mike had to replace him. Mike got an interception stopped in Alabama drive in the end zone. But everyone remembers that Ralph Giacomello kicked it off Mike Suter's backside. And Alabama, which was leading 24-21 at the time, took that in for a touchdown and eventually won the game 42-21. Okay? That group there, after the 5th game of the season and their first loss, led by Todd Blackledge, obviously, Kurt Warner, people like that, got everybody in the room and said, we're not losing anymore. You've got a quarterback that's of the same personality now and the same determination, who played a phenomenal off-the-charts game on Saturday night. That's what this team is just as talented as that 82 team. Now, they've got a tough schedule, but this goes back to what I've talked about before many times this season. So what you're about to hear is not new. It's not in the moment. Okay? This is something I've talked about ever since February. This schedule brings with it bounce-back opportunities if you stumble. And I've said that how many times now in this show? Last year when they lost that Michigan State game, down the stretch it was Nebraska, Rutgers, Maryland. Okay? You can't do anything except status quo when you're facing those people. You can't in that particular moment. Okay? But with this schedule, you've got, okay? And by the way, the game after Alabama was the homecoming game with Syracuse. Penn State's next game is Michigan State. What is that? I think it's homecoming, isn't it?
It is. And a 3:30 kick.
3:30 kick will be on it too. Michigan State 2018 is better than 1982 Syracuse. Okay, so let's not get the two confused. All right. But you've got Michigan State. You got a tough road game in Indiana. Then you got Iowa. Then you're at Michigan. Then you got Wisconsin. Okay? You take care of business each week. You've now shown everybody something. That's how you have to look at it. This schedule presented itself with bounce-back opportunities. Now they're going to have to use it, and they have to need it. They're going to have to go out and get that game against Michigan State to start this thing rolling again. All right, we'll take a break. Joe Susan coming up. Bucknell, 1-0. They're 1-0 in the Patriot. They won at Holy Cross. Doug Birdsong, great call. I think, did Doug work solo?
He did not.
Oh. Who do you work with?
For nearly 100 years, Purdy Insurance has been your locally owned, family-operated source for insurance products. With a staff of over 20 and partnerships with some of the industry's most trusted companies, Purdy has the experience and resources to get the job done. Whether you need personal, home, and auto, or complex business insurance solutions, Purdy will help you navigate through the process. Call today at 570-286-5855. Or better yet, stop in their Sunbury office to see what Purdy Insurance can do for you. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you, the other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Purdy's have served this valley for decades, finding their customers insurance so they're covered, and doing so in such a way where they end up saving money because they find the best price. That's Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. And we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th rated Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Joe Susan, the head football coach at Bucknell, joins us after Bucknell beat Holy Cross in the Patriot League opener in Worcester on Saturday. Joe, welcome. Congratulations on that win.
Thanks, Steve. Refreshing and great for our coaches and players, and makes the 7-hour bus trip home just a little bit better. And obviously, it's a lot of credit to how our players have approached this, and lesser people might have packed it up. But they understand the importance of the league, and they understand that every league game is an opportunity to get one step closer to the playoffs. And what it does, it puts league games in a playoff mode. And we played from behind, started slowly. Part of it, I think, has to do with the way you have to practice. You really can't do a lot of live things, and then you have to play up to speed. We just got to be ready to play up to speed because the group we've got coming in here this weekend is pretty good.
Yeah, really, really good. Colgate. You fall behind in a game like this. Now this is awfully tough to ask any coach. How important on the road is the element of patience so you can get yourself back in gear?
The thing that I've always, as I study the game, the thing that I've always understood is how long a game goes and how many times in the league we play in that there are going to be changes in momentum, and you have to take advantage of the opportunity to maintain momentum. And one of the situations we had, we're 4th and goal from the 10-inch line, and the old lineman in me and the old line coach in me says, "Go for it. We're going to put it in the end zone." And then you got to think about you're giving them a 99-yard field,
right?
But what happens there is that if you don't get it, and they change the momentum and they bring it out, you've taken away points, and ultimately you win by 3. So we made the decision to make it 7-6 and went into halftime that way, and then we got the ball back in the third quarter, and I don't know if you saw the run that Jared Cooper made, but
I did.
It
was his first career touchdown.
Yeah, he finds his ways through slivers, and real good backs do that.
Yeah. Well, there's another part, too. On my chart, when I'm doing game preparation, I always put on my chart, how do you do when you get the ball on the plus side of the field, which includes how do you do defensively and how do you do offensively when the ball's on the plus side. You had 2 where you got the opportunity, either through return or turnover, to start on the plus side of the field against a Holy Cross. You got 10 points out of that. How important is that when you get that opportunity with short fields that you take advantage like you did?
What that does is just it compounds momentum. Obviously, your defense creating a turnover and then Brian Marine returning a punt, it just keeps that on your side, and it's a negative thing for the opponent. And we got to remember we're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds that take those things in. But being able to cash in on short fields is critical, and it was good to see our offense do that. We have not done that yet this year consistently. And the other thing that I felt very good about was we took over in the fourth quarter with 6:51 left on the clock. We gave it back to them with 36 seconds left on the clock. Right. And if you're able to do that, we control the ball for over 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. If you're able to do that, it keeps their ability to score off the field. Obviously, they hit a couple of big plays that made it a 3-point game, but giving them 31 or 36 seconds with no timeouts and a long field, it really puts them in a bind, and it enables you to play some defense where you're playing everything in front of you, and if you tackle it in front of you, they've got to hurry, and obviously they're playing for a field goal, but at that time of the game they're playing for first downs, and they didn't get any, which is good.
You had a lot of people step up and have big games for you. What about the performance of Joe Laurel for you?
He is amazing because he's been through some things from an injury standpoint through his career that a lesser person would have probably said, I'm going to get on with my life. And Joe did get on with his life because he's a football player. Actually a very good student here too, but amazing what he does. And confidence, obviously he's worked his tail off to do these things. And he just brings along not just the defense, the entire team. And it's exciting to watch him play, and it's amazing how quickly these 4 years go with these guys. You know, I had Alan Butler in a car with me today, and I still remember talking to Alan in his high school yesterday, and it's funny how they get old and we don't.
Exactly right, Joe. I'm with you all the way on that. I've got to ask you now about Colgate. They pitched back-to-back shutouts. What does that tell you when you look at tape about their defense and how they play it?
They're number one, they're sound. Number two, they move to the football. And if you want a highlight tape of pursuit the way it should be, and I feel our defense moves to the football well, this right. Group moves to the football. The other thing they do, Steve, is they create turnovers. And they're ranked second in the country in turnover margin for a reason. And we've got to do well in making sure we're not giving them the ball. And a lot of their turnovers come during tackles, not necessarily a quarterback throwing to a wide open, strong safety. So they're creating turnovers; they're not just being given turnovers. And they have a great player as a defensive end. If you don't take him into account in your protection schemes, he can ruin the game. In Nick Wheeler, and obviously he's surrounded by some good players, but I watch people try to single block him consistently, and you really better get rid of the ball quickly if you're doing that. But Paul Schaffner is their defensive coordinator. I've known Paul for a long time. He does a great job. And Dan Hunt and I are close friends. We will be enemies for 60 minutes on Saturday at noon, but I have the utmost respect for what they do. And then you talk about their offense. Grant Brenneman, who's a sophomore, I think they just regenerate quarterbacks at Colgate.
Right.
And really what I think they do is they change a kid's name, they change his jersey number, but it's the same kid. So Grant's probably about 35 years old.
Yeah.
Playing his 15th year in the league. And You know, he does it well. They're read option, triple option, you might call it, everything upside down option, but you know, he has mastered it. They're going to read the defensive end, the defensive tackle, any of the linebackers. They're actually going to run pass option the safeties, and he does it as well as I've seen. And you know, they complement each other so well, their offense, their defense. But when you look at them, and obviously they pitch shutouts for a reason. This is one of the better defenses I've seen in the league, and you know, we cannot turn the ball over, and we'll do a better job. We turned it over once this past week, and in a situation where throwing it away would still be good because we were in field goal range, and that's part of a young quarterback. I think Logan will get better and better as he learns the game by the game.
They are averaging defensively 8 tackles for losses per game. Give me the importance, Joe, of your offense's ability to stay on schedule in this game and what it could mean.
As an offensive line guy, my original thought on staying on schedule was 3 yards per play. As I grew as a coach, if you get a yard on 1st and 10, it changes your down and distance requirement. If you lose 2, it changes your down and distance requirement. Right. So our ability to stay in line with the sticks is going to be critical, because what they do, they want to put you in situations where it's 3rd and unmanageable, and then they can open the floodgates. They can drop 8, they can bring 7, and you know, then you're playing their game. And that's going to be critical. And the other thing that we've got to be smart with, and we will be, is, like you said earlier in this conversation, patience. We've got to maintain field position is going to be critical in this, and obviously turnovers will be too, but we have an advantage in our punter, and there are going to be situations where if it is 3rd and unmanageable and we have a chance to flip the field, we're going to be smart about what we do on 3rd down, and then punting is okay. And not like I want to do it 15 times a game, right, but with the way he's performed and with the way he flips the field, And the other thing we're doing better, much better at, because early in the season he outkicked his coverage a couple times. Mm-hmm. Our coverage has gotten better and better, and a lot of it is our long snapper, Michael Colantuano. Really has come on. I've been fortunate to coach some very good long snappers.
Yep.
He has a chance to be one of the best, and that's pretty good considering what he came from as a freshman. As a freshman, you ever have the yips in putting?
Oh, jeez.
Probably all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He had the yips with long snapping last year. He couldn't get it back there in his high school. We were concerned that he paid somebody else to take the high school film for him. And he worked his tail off over the summer, and he comes back and he gets it back quickly. So people aren't going to be effective in blocking us, and he's gotten so much better at getting down there and making tackles.
This will be noon Saturday at Christy. We invite everybody out for that as they look to go 2-0 in the Patriot. Joe, congratulations on the win. Good luck trying to go 1-0 this week.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you, Sean. You guys have a good week.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Bye. Appreciate that. Now, was today the day they had the luncheon at Maddie's?
It is now Mondays at Maddie's. That Mondays, is correct. Yes.
Now, I assume you went.
Unfortunately, I could not get there.
Oh, no.
I know. I had some extra stuff I had to do in the office.
Was Doug there?
No brainer, sure.
Was the analyst there?
As far as I know, he was not there.
How do you keep track of the team if you're just doing it by I mean, how do you keep track of the team if you're just doing it by rumor?
Hopefully he has a great source.
I mean, no offense, but I think I'm in contact more with Joe than he is. All right, so
non-game days could be, yes.
I mean, during the week leading up. Fortunately, the sports information guy goes over and hands Joe a picture of the suit. And oh, yeah, that's the guy we're talking to today. All right, great. Okay, we'll come back with more in a moment as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Purdy Insurance. I want to thank Dick from Milton for calling the show today to confirm, and I totally trust Dick from Milton on this, confirm that the suit was at the luncheon today.
Ding, ding.
And became the first person in the history of the luncheon to order an 8-course meal. All right, so it's like... It's not how it's supposed to work.
No,
but it's all right. I mean, does Doug order an 8-course meal? I don't think Doug's ordered 8 courses in 8 years at that total.
Right. When they tell him it's time to go and start the show. You know how that works.
Absolutely.
Sure, you know. Yeah, I did receive a confirmation as well as someone from our end of the building. Yeah, we saw someone driving through Buffalo Township at a high rate of speed towards Lewisburg around 11:30, wearing an orange and blue bib. So there we go. So, multiple sources now confirmed.
Yes. It's just good to have contact with the people you cover.
Yes.
Even if it's only occasional.
Just get what I need to know and move on.
Still to come of the show today, we'll have BenJonesStateCollege.com and then some perspective on the Eagles game yesterday, which they lost in overtime to Tennessee, where the Titans converted not 1, not 2, but 3 fourth downs to win the game over the Eagles in overtime yesterday. So the Eagles are now 2-2. Matt Leon in the final half hour about that. Today's show brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Purdy's have served this valley for decades because they've been able to find their customers the right insurance, auto, home, life, business, and they've been able to find the best price for their customers. Oh, and by the way, if you have any questions, they'll get the answers for you. They'll put your mind at ease, and if there's a claim, they jump right in, and they are tireless and how they work to make sure that claim works for you. It's all at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to PurdyInsurance.com. Proud to be in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury. You can hear us anywhere in the world with the Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation app.